Good evening. My name is Dan Proft. I'm happy to be here to MC this dinner again. This will be my, I think, 42nd of the last 43 years MCing this dinner, so I appreciate it. We have another great evening, as we always do with the Northwest Suburban Cook County Republican Organization's annual Lincoln Day Dinner. We're fortunate to have Illinois Governor Bruce Rauner, who will be here. Yes, that's an applause line. And also a friend of ours who descended from north of the Cheese Curtain to be with us this evening. He is United States Senator Ron Johnson, who will be the keynote. I want to, before we begin the program, just a couple of points of personal privilege. We just concluded a municipal election, and it turns out to be really important because I think in the municipal election, just this past April 4th, we found a few canaries in the coal mine that portend very well for us in November 2018. I think we are right on the cusp of where Wisconsin was before Senator Johnson and Governor Walker were elected, before Republicans took the state legislature in Wisconsin in 2009, when nobody predicted what would happen in 2010 in Wisconsin, and they've run the table in the past 7 years to completely turn that state around by following a principled conservative reform agenda. And I know we can joke about Mike Madigan's 75th birthday today and his 46th year in Illinois politics and political office, but I want to focus on the positive and the opportunity before us because we're this close to starting to do, frankly, in 2018, what Wisconsin Republicans did in 2009 into the 10 cycle and since. And those municipal elections tell the story. I know there's been some agitprop circulating from the house organs of the left in the Chicago press corps, which of course constitute all of the outlets in the Chicago press corps, sans mine. That somehow Democrats had a good April 4th election. No, they did not. No, they did not. We advanced the flag in material ways, not only with taking out Democrats, but also with advancing conservative reform Republicans. I just want to point out a couple of examples for you because they're really important, because it tells you it can be done in this state. If it can be done in McHenry County and Algonquin Township, if it can be done in Orland Park, if it can be done in the city of Aurora, then it can be done everywhere. And so two people I'd just like to point out very quickly. One is Andrew Gosser, who's the new Algonquin Township Highway Commissioner, who unseated a 50-year dynastic family in Algonquin Township. Andrew, stand up. Another is the mayor-elect of Orland Park, Keith Pekow, who unseated a 24-year Democrat incumbent in Orland Park. In the city of Aurora, the second most populous city in this state, we have our first African-American mayor of the city of Aurora, who is a Republican, Richard Irvin. In school boards and municipal races and township offices, Republicans are on the ascension. And we need to keep that momentum going, so we take 9 seats back in the House, and we move the needle in the Senate, and we reelect Governor Rauner so Governor Rauner can lead the charge in Illinois that governors like Walker and Daniels and Pence and Holcomb have led in the Midwest. We are on the cusp of our I am Spartacus moment. People are ready to revolt. We just have to provide the vision and the leadership to coalesce them behind our conservative reform agenda. So I want you to be optimistic as you think about the next 18 months, despite the challenges we have. Our ideas are winning, our arguments are engaging people. We just have to continue to keep the pressure up to change this state. And with that, let's begin the program with the presentation of colors. Schaumburg, American Legion Post 1983. Please join us. And please stand. Thank you. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now I'd like to invite Annie Penner up for the national anthem.
So proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Annie always does such a great job, especially that high note. Let's give her another round of applause. And now for the invocation, I'd like to invite up Mark Angus, who is a member of the Arlington Heights 2nd Ward of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Mark.
Our Heavenly Father, thank Thee for this gathering of like-minded people. Thank Thee for establishing the Constitution of the United States by the hands of wise men whom Thou raised up unto this very purpose, and for allowing this land to be redeemed, even by the shedding of blood. Thank thee for the First Amendment to the Constitution, which affords us the blessing of worshiping as we please, the freedom of speech, and the right peaceably to assemble in this manner. Thank thee for citizenship in this greatest nation on earth. Thank thee that the electorate on November 8th, 2016, voted to put America first and for deregulation, limited government, lower taxes, peace through strength, and an end to the infamous corruption of Chicago machine politics in preservation of this, the host country, for the restoration of the gospel. Thank thee for opportunity. Thank thee for capitalism and free enterprise, which have lifted more people out of poverty than any other economic system thou hast ever revealed unto the children of men. Thank thee for those who ever have served, are currently serving, and ever will serve in the U.S. military, so that capitalism, free enterprise, and government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish. Thank thee that we have entrepreneurs in the White House and in the Illinois governor's mansion. Thank thee that President Donald J. Trump acknowledges that we are all thy children. Thank thee for Abraham Lincoln, the first Republican president of the United States, who saved the Union, freed the slaves, and sealed his mission with his blood. Greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends. Thank thee for the state of Illinois, for the respite my wife's family found over 175 years ago in the city beautiful on the banks of the Mississippi River. Now, we as a nation have apostatized in various degrees from constitutional principles as proclaimed by its inspired founders. We fear the impending moment prophesied by Joseph Smith, who sealed his testimony with his blood. Said Joseph, even this nation will be on the very verge of crumbling to pieces and tumbling to the ground. And when the Constitution is upon the brink of ruin, this people will be the staff upon which the nation shall lean, and they shall bear the Constitution away from the very verge of destruction. Please bless President Trump, Governor Bruce Rauner, Senator Ron Johnson, and all of us with the whisperings of the still small voice of the Holy Spirit to help save the nation and Illinois. We thank thee for the food we will eat tonight, and for all we have and are. Please bless this food, that it will nourish and strengthen our souls. Finally, we thank thee for Jesus Christ, thine only begotten Son in the flesh, even Jehovah, the God of this land, who wrought through his suffering in Gethsemane and on Calvary, and his resurrection, the great and everlasting atonement for our sins and promise of our resurrection, manifesting his pure love of thee to us. Thank thee for the Easter Sunday we just commemorated in remembrance of our Savior. As he died to make men holy, let us live to make men free. Help us keep the flag of the United States flying over this sacred land until his second coming. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Please be seated. Mark, I'm going to need a copy of that prayer to send over to Cardinal Supich. So if you could. For those who don't know, that's who listen to my show, that's Mark from Des Plaines. So he's been outed now. It's Mark from Des Plaines. There you go. All right, now it's my pleasure to introduce the party chairman, the chairman of the Illinois State Republican Party, who will introduce Governor Rauner. He is Tim Schneider.
Thank you, Dan. Good evening to you all. Welcome to you from Cook County, where a $6 case of Coke come July 1st will now be $9 a case of Coke, and where a death certificate is the preferred identification for voter registration. Mike Madigan has been a state representative in Illinois for 46 years and is the longest-serving speaker in United States history. For decades, Speaker Madigan has watched over Illinois' destruction for his own benefit and for the benefit of the special interests. More people left Cook County in 2015 than any other county in our nation. And since the year 2000, over 1.2 million people have left our state. Businesses, jobs, and people are fleeing the state of Illinois. Our social service safety net has been decimated. But in 2014, we elected a new governor in Illinois. And he has said no to Mike Madigan and the special interests, no to the status quo, and no to business as usual, no to kicking the can down the road and making tomorrow's generations pay for today's mistakes, and no to making Illinois the laughingstock of our nation. Ladies and gentlemen, the man who will restore our state to greatness once again, our governor, Bruce Rauner.
Thank you. Thank you. God bless you. Thank you. I appreciate it very much. You're the best. You're the best. I appreciate you. You know who deserves the applause is you. You deserve the applause. You know what? It's an honor for me to be here to work for you. Thank you for your patriotism. Thank you for every one of you in this room. Thank you for your patriotism. Thank you for your dedication. Thank you for your commitment. Thank you for your belief. Thank you for your belief in the values of our Republican Party. The values, faith, family, hard work, love of God, love of country, limited government, low taxes, individual liberty, personal responsibility, free enterprise, private property rights. The core values of our Republican Party are the core values that make America the greatest nation on earth. Those values are the reason the Republican Party is going to become the majority party in the state of Illinois in the coming years. We're 100% committed to that. Democracy only works when citizens get involved, informed, engaged in the process. By you guys being here, you are making democracy work. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being strong Republicans. Thank you for believing in a two-party system for a strong democracy. I deeply appreciate it. You know what? We're at a critical turning point in Illinois' history. Critical turning point. And there's an epic battle going on. People think the battle in Springfield is about the budget. You know what it's really about? It's about the future of our state. It's about whether our children and our grandchildren are going to have a better future in the state of Illinois, or whether that's what we're fighting for every day, a better future for our children and our grandchildren. Or are we going to stay under the thumb of a group of corrupt career politicians who've been dragging our state down the drain for decades? Corruption, cronyism, patronage, deficit spending, higher taxes, job losses, poorly funded schools. Are we going to stay on this track we've been on for years? The answer to that is no, ladies and gentlemen, because the Republican Party is coming back strong and powerful again. We're going to go in a new direction. We're going to go in a new direction. More jobs, lower taxes, better value for taxpayers, outstanding schools that are properly supported, and democracy that works for people again through term limits and fair maps with redistricting reform. Term limits and fair maps, redistricting reform. These are the keys. We're going to never give up on this. We are never going to give up on this. Now, change is difficult. Boy, it's brutal. It's a battle down there. You know, I've been governor for 2 years. Oh, it's really like dog years. It's really like 14 years. I mean, it's really hard. You know, when I started this job, I was 6'8" and had a full head of hair. I mean, this is really, really hard. But you know what? For me, it's work of love. I love the state of Illinois. This is home. This is home, and I love the state of Illinois. And you guys know I'm a volunteer. You guys know I'm a volunteer. I don't want to pay. I don't want any pension. What I want is a better future for all of our children and all our grandchildren, with rising family incomes, prosperity with careers available for everybody. outstanding educational opportunities for everybody. That's what we deserve in this state of Illinois. And boy, we have such a wonderful place. We got the best people in America, the hardest working people in any state in America, right here in the state of Illinois. And we've got the best agriculture. We've got the best transportation network. We have some of the best universities and best education system. We should be kicking tails. We should be one of the fastest growing states. We should be blowing the doors off Texas or Tennessee or Georgia. There's only one thing holding us back, and that's corrupt Democrats down in Springfield controlling our government for their own benefit. And let me tell you this right now, I promise you, I'm a son of a gun when it comes to competition and work hard. Nobody outworks me ever. And this is a labor of love for me, and let me promise you something. Even though last November it was tragic here in Illinois because the Democrats in the presidential race, Clinton, won Illinois by 17 points. That's a tragedy. Let me tell you the good news. Despite that, we in Illinois picked up 6 seats in the House of Representatives and the Senate and the General Assembly for Republicans last November. Despite that setback, and let me be clear, I am 100% dedicated, 100% committed. I am all in. Next November, in November of 18, you know what we're going to do? We're going to pick up 9 seats in the House of Representatives, and Mike Madigan will no longer be Speaker of the House of Representatives. It'll be a new day in Illinois. It's going to be a new day in Illinois. Now, you guys know I got my work ethic from my grandfather. He was a dairy farmer. He was an immigrant, spoke Swedish, didn't speak a lot of English, lived in a little double-wide trailer outside of Whitewater, Wisconsin. He taught me a lot about life. He was my best buddy growing up. He taught me about hunt and fish and enjoy the outdoors, but he taught me really 3 core values that I hold dear to me. Number 1 is the importance of hard work. He said, Bruce, whatever you choose to do in your life, you give it 100% every day. You work your tail off and never settle for anything less from yourself than 100%. Number 2, he said, get a great education. Most important way to have a better life is to make sure you do good in school. And I don't want to hear you getting anything out less than A's. I want you to work your tail off in school and do great and go as far as you can in school. And number 3, he said, give back in your community. We all have a moral duty to help each other. We're all God's children and have a moral duty to help each other. We don't help each other through massive government bureaucracy. We help each other through our community groups and our churches and our organizations. We give back and we help each other. And I believe that very strongly. I believe, as a good book says, to whom much has been given, from whom much is expected in return. You know what? I didn't inherit a nickel. We're a middle-class family. I grew up here in Deerfield, just up the road. Went to Wilmot School there on Deerfield Road by 294. My dad was electrical engineer in Schaumburg at Motorola. My mom was a nurse at Northwestern. I worked my tail off through school. I got my first job when I was 6 years old delivering papers, and then I flipped burgers at McDonald's. I worked my tail off my whole life. I'm not happy if I'm not working. But you know what? In my career, before I became a public servant working for you, I worked for the teachers of Illinois and the police officers and the public servants of Illinois because I invested their pension money for 32 years. And you know what? We kicked tails. We did 22% annual returns for 32 years, more than double the stock market. So our teachers could have a better retirement, and you could save billions of dollars that you didn't have to put into the pensions because we did so good. And I'm darn proud of that track record. People criticize me for making money. I said, I'm never going to apologize for working hard and making good money. I'll never apologize for that's what America's about. Well, I made a lot of money, and I'm proud of it. But I went to our 6 kids. You know, my wife and I have raised 6 wonderful kids. We're so blessed. 4 girls, 2 boys. They're grown and gone now. But I told them, I said, you know what? I made a lot of money, guys, but I'm not taking it with me when I go, and I'm not giving it to you either. And 2 of them were really cranky about that. 2 of them were really cranky, but I said, you know what? We made this money, but you know what we're going to do with it? We're going to give it back in the community to try to make a difference and make the state of Illinois a more wonderful place. So we build churches, we build schools, libraries, we build the Red Cross headquarters in Chicago. We built the YMCA. We fund teacher training, scholarships for low-income kids. My wife's dedicated her life to early childhood education for kids in poverty. We care. We want this a better place, and we're doing everything we can to give back and make a big difference. And that's what my role as governor. I'm volunteering to work for you, and boy, oh boy, I'm working my fanny off, and we're going to have big changes in this state. We're going to be a proud, prosperous state again for our children and our grandchildren. Now, the change is so tough, it's so slow, and boy, I'm getting the stuffing kicked out of me every day in the press, if you haven't noticed. And boy, talk about bias. Oh my goodness, in the press. And my wife, it drives her nuts. You know, she's like, Bruce, what is wrong with you? You're so happy. Why are you so happy? Every morning I'm up at 5:30. Yeah, we're going to get him today. And she says, you are, what is wrong with you? You're twisted. Why are you so happy? She says, Bruce, I've never seen you so happy in your entire life. And I said, Diana, who gets an opportunity in life to improve the future for 13 million people? I am totally humbled and totally privileged by the opportunity to work for the people of Illinois. Totally humbled. It's an honor for me to work for you. And you know what really gets me pumped up? Every day people come up to me around the state of Illinois and they say, Governor, stay strong. Don't back down. Don't give in. You're on the right track. Stick to your guns. And a lot of times they go on and say, and heck, I'm a Democrat. I don't even really support Republicans, but you know what? I know Madigan's a problem. I know we need more jobs in this state. I know our property taxes are too high, and you're going to fix it. And I say, you're darn tootin' we are. We're going to make this a strong, great place again. Now, it's a battle, but we're making changes. The press doesn't talk about it. We made big changes. You know what I'm proudest of? We blocked Madigan's $7 billion out-of-balance budget. He wanted way more spending than we got. Now we blocked his out-of-balance budget. We blocked billions of dollars the Democrats wanted to spend beyond what we're spending right now, and we blocked the Democrats' massive income tax hike. Right there, saving you billions of dollars right from blocking old Madigan's bad behavior, and that's a big deal. That's a really big deal. But I tell you, inside the government, we're transforming the government so it works for you again, instead of working for the career politicians and the special interest groups that make money off of you as taxpayers. We've already cut over $500 million out of operating costs of state government, just from good management. We've already cut $220 million out of Medicaid fraud and Medicaid abuse inside our state government, and we're going to cut hundreds of millions of dollars more out of waste and abuse in our Medicaid system. And we're transforming our government operations through our computer systems. I brought in a star from Cisco Systems, and we're completely modernizing the computers in the state of Illinois government. I don't think many of you will be shocked to learn we are in the Stone Age when it comes to technology inside government. You probably won't be stunned by that. But you know what? A lot of the departments in state government, they don't even have computers. And in the departments that do have computers, we're running software from 1974. I mean, 1974 is a great year. That's the year I got out of high school. But you know, that's a long time ago, and things have changed a lot since then. I walked into one department, my first 2 weeks in office, there were 200 people in a room just like this, sitting at their desks, with paper and pen, processing paper applications. There wasn't a computer in the room. And I said, whoa, this doesn't look good. I think they invented computers a couple years ago. We might actually be able to update and make this process a little faster. And they said, well, you can't bring computers in here. It would violate the work rules. You'd have to get the union permission. I said, no. No, we're going to digitize this department. Tell me the math. What's the numbers? And they said, well, sheepishly, they told me the next day, well, we'd have to spend $500,000. I said, yeah, okay, I might buy that. Maybe we could do better than that. And they said, we'd save $7 million per year. Spend $500,000, save $7 million per year. And this is the kind of thing we can do in every department, changing the process. And I'm very excited. We put in brand new union contracts with 20 of the government unions. You know, we're the most unionized state government in America. And we have the highest paid state employees in America. And the unbelievable work rules. I can't turn on a light switch without getting 6 permissions. It's unbelievably restrictive. So I went to the unions and I said, it's got to be a new day, ladies and gentlemen. We got to have a more fair deal for taxpayers. We need a fair deal for taxpayers. And they were a little bit stunned. They were a little stunned because they said, well, most governors kind of work with us and give us what we want. And I said, well, I'm sorry, I'm not a politician. And you know what? I work for the taxpayers. And let me tell you something. I'm the first governor in Illinois history from either party who's never taken a nickel from your union. So don't think that you're going to, influence me or bribe me, because you know what? I work for the taxpayers of Illinois, and we're going to have a new deal here in these union contracts. And so they said, no, Governor, we want $3 billion more in pay over the next 4 years. And I said, no, we're not doing that. And they said, yes, we are. And I said, no, we're not. And I said, you know what? We need a fundamentally different deal. I'll pay you more, but I'll pay you as a percentage of taxpayer savings. You save a taxpayer $1 in your department, I'll give you 10 cents of that dollar. 90 cents savings for taxpayers, 10 cents for you. That's a fair deal. Let's do that. A lot of the employees said, yeah, I'll do that. The union bosses said, no way. We'll never agree to that. I said, okay, well, we're going to do it. We got 20 of the unions to agree, but the big one after me said, no, we'll never agree. And I said, well, you got to agree. I mean, this is what we're going to do. And they said, we'll strike. I said, well, gosh, I hope you don't. That wouldn't be good, but you know what? If you do, we might miss you, but we're probably not going to miss you. We're going to keep the government running. And they went, whoa, no governor's ever said that to us. And I said, well, I'm not a politician. You know, I'm a business guy, and I know how to do this. And so they ran to they said, this is outrageous. We got to get you out of here. So they went to Madigan, and they said, Madigan, pass a law so we can bring in a union-friendly arbitrator to give us what we want in these contract negotiations and kick the governor out. They passed a law to take away my authority to negotiate the union contracts, my most fundamental executive authority. You can't make this stuff up. I mean, it's unbelievable. Now, they weren't stunned when I vetoed that bill. And I got one Democrat to come off the veto override, so my veto stood. That saved you guys $800 million every year when we were able to get that done. And I told them, ladies and gentlemen, here's the new deal. Completely new, more flexible work rules, ability to work with outside firms to provide services. You know what? Flat, no salary increases for 4 years, but bonuses based upon taxpayer savings. Different health care plan. It's no more platinum coverage for bronze rates. It's going to be just like taxpayers have, a regular health insurance plan like regular people have. And a different pension system with a defined contribution plan element, so it's more of a 401k style in the future so we can save billions of dollars. And I said, here's a really novel concept. I said, going forward, it's not, you know what, we're not going to have a 37-and-a-half-hour work week anymore. We're actually going to have a 40-hour work week before overtime starts. There was a novel idea that got them worked up. And I said, and let's let volunteers come in to work in the state state parks, our state parks downstate, or to volunteer in our healthcare facilities. These are reasonable things. They said no. I said yes. We should be implementing the contract, but they went to our judges, they went into court, and don't get me started about our elected judges in the state level in the state of Illinois. Don't get me started about that. But you know what? And we're in court right now, and they're holding up us implementing the contract. Now, we're going to win this case. We're going to win the case. But in the meantime, let me tell you, every day that we can't implement our new contract with the biggest union is costing you $2.5 million every day. Think about that. That's money that could go into our schools with our teachers. That's money that could go into our human services. That's money that could stay in your pocket to grow the economy. So we're going to prevail. We're going to prevail big. In the court, we're going to win, and then we're going to implement our contract, and it's going to be a new day in Illinois. Transform it. So, and let me tell you, I'll mention two other things. Really big deal. We are in federal court on two critical lawsuits as well. I said my first day in office, or my first month in office, if you work in our administration and you don't want to be in a union, and you don't have to be. If you want to be, join a union if you want, but if you don't want to, don't. And I said, and if you don't want to be in the union, you don't pay the dues. A lot of the employees in state government said, yeah, that's awesome, I'm for that. And then we got sued. We're working up in federal court, and that's going to go to the Supreme Court. That's going to get the U.S. Supreme Court this fall. And you watch, we're going to win this case, and there's not going to be forced unionism in state government, local government, or school districts anymore around the United States of America. Big deal. New day for taxpayers in Illinois. We also got another federal lawsuit. Because I've said, why should we have mandates on our labor regulations in Springfield? Each community should decide. Palatine should decide. Lake County, Cook County should decide. Iroquois County should decide its own labor regulations. Shouldn't be dictated by Springfield. You should decide. It's your community. And I said to everybody, you should pass a resolution where you control your own regulations. You decide whether you want forced unionism or not in your economy when you're trying to recruit manufacturing firms to your city, to your county. We got Rockford to pass it. We got Elk Grove, Lincolnshire, Iroquois County, 36 counties and cities around the state of Illinois. They all got sued. A lot of them went, oh no, lawsuits, we're scared, we're not going to do this anymore. But we got several of them are still in court. One, Lincolnshire, is in federal court right now, and that's working its way up in the federal court. And in the meantime, Hardin County, Kentucky, had the same thing. Their county passed it in Kentucky, and they won their case in appellate court in federal government. Now that one's not being appealed anymore because they've gone completely free market, free enterprise in Kentucky because they got all Republican legislature and Republican governor. But now we have competing rulings in appellate court, federal court, one in Illinois versus Kentucky. That means the U.S. Supreme Court's going to want to hear this case. And I can't promise you we're going to win the case like I could inside the government case, but it's 2-1 in our favor. And if we win that case, we are going to be a free market, free enterprise state with true open competition, and our manufacturing sector and transportation sector is going to boom. And I'm going to recruit hundreds of companies to the state of Illinois. So these are exciting times, but you know we still got a majority against this, at least for another 18 months. And in the meantime, you know, they're blocking progress. But we will never, never give up. And I will always fight for 4 things: more jobs, lower taxes, better schools, and term limits on politicians. I've been saying it for 4 years. I will never change off that. That's the priority. My whole focus: more jobs, lower taxes, better schools, and term limits on politicians. And let me say, we've got to hold Madigan's Democrats accountable for not doing these things. Democrats who live in Illinois want these issues just as much as we do. Madigan and his cronies don't want it, so we got to hold the House Democrats responsible for electing him Speaker year after year after year after year. Hold him accountable for putting him in office and blocking the progress for the people of Illinois. We're going to hang this on him. Because here's the basic fact, and we got to get this word out in every neighbor, in every community, Democrat and Republican. Here's the tragedy of Madigan's Democrats controlling our state government. We are not growing the economy. We are not creating jobs. And that's because of the regulation burden and the tax burden that these Democrats have put on our businesses. We're pushing them out of state. We have not created net new jobs in Illinois for 17 years. We still got the same number of jobs in Illinois we had in the year 2000. Think about that. That's outrageous with our workforce, with our people, with our location, with our infrastructure. Flatline because of Madigan's Democrats and their regulations and their taxes. And while we're flat on jobs, anybody got to guess what's been going on in government spending in Springfield? Let me tell you, it ain't been flat. Let me tell you, it ain't been flat. Our government spending has gone up 66% since the year 2000 in government spending in Springfield, while our jobs are flat. Unsustainable, ladies and gentlemen, a broken system, and anybody who thinks we should just raise taxes to fix that problem, they're hallucinating. They are fundamentally wrong. We cannot tax our way out of this problem. We got to grow our way out of this problem by enhancing the economic competitiveness and get a booming economy and bring down the pace of government spend and growth. And the only way to have balanced budgets for the long term is have our economy growing faster than our government spending. It's simple math. This is not complicated. And we are going to drive that result. We're going to change the system. We're going to pick up 9 seats in November of 2018. We're going to reduce the regulatory burden, shrink the wasteful spending in our bureaucracy, put the money in our schools with our teachers, and change our education system so in our high schools we bring back technical training, vocational training, career training in our high schools so our young people are trained for the jobs that are available. And we bring back apprentice programs and intern programs for our high school kids so they get real-world work experience so they're ready to get out and kick tails and make a good career and a good income when they get out of high school. And we're changing our education funding. We're dead last in the state of Illinois for funding K-12 schools as a percentage from the state. Our state government is terrible. And the Democrats, before I got in office, the Democrats in the prior 10 years to my coming in cut state support for schools 4 times. So we're dead last. And my first job with the tax money, I said, we're going to cut wasteful spending, but we're going to increase education spending so we really do our fair share so our property taxes can come down and the state support will go up. Your property tax bill will get reduced and we increase state support for schools. We got $750 million more my first year in office for K-12 schools. And we're going to fight for more for K-12 schools every year to bring down your property taxes and get a more fair and balanced way to fund our schools. And we're going to get this done. I'm very proud of it. So here's my request. This is a critical time. It's a brutal battle, but we got to win. Never give up, never give in, never back down. Out there talking to your friends, talking to your neighbors, Democrats, Republicans. You know what? This fight is really not about Democrats versus Republicans. It's our values that need to prevail. But everything we're fighting for, term limits, fair maps, property tax freeze, education funding, pension reform, are supported by Democrats. Democrats, even Attorney General Lisa Madigan, who's not a Republican last time I looked, Even she has said our workers' comp regulations are broken in Illinois and they're driving manufacturers out. We need causation in our workers' comp system. And she is correct. We have bipartisan agreement, but it's Madigan and his cronies who are blocking progress. And that's why together we got to spread that word, get the word out, hold those House Democrats accountable for electing him year after year after year. And when we do that, we are going to win. And it's going to be a new day in the state of Illinois. We're going to make Illinois proud and prosperous again, a wonderful place for our children and our grandchildren. Thank you. Thank you. God bless you. God bless our great state of Illinois. God bless the United States of America. Thanks very much, everybody. I appreciate you. God bless you. Thank you.
We're going to keep the program going. And to introduce our keynote speaker, I'm pleased to introduce the Schaumburg Township Republican Committeeman, Ryan Higgins.
Thank you. Good evening. It is my honor tonight to introduce our keynote speaker, United States Senator Ron Johnson, the senior United States Senator for the state of Wisconsin. Ron Johnson is a manufacturer from Oshkosh, Wisconsin, who spent more than 30 years creating jobs and solving problems in the private sector before serving in the U.S. Senate. He brings an outsider's approach to Washington to help Wisconsinites and all Americans keep more of their paychecks and to promote local communities from threats to our national security. In 2010, Senator Johnson ran for the United States Senate, his first race for political office, and defeated then United States Senator Russ Feingold. Last year, the senator was reelected for a second time, becoming the first Wisconsin Republican since 1980 to win a Senate seat in a presidential election year. Now, as chairman of the Senate Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs, Senator Johnson has focused on finding areas of agreement to take on Washington dysfunction. He believes Americans deserve to keep more of what they earn rather than sending it to bureaucrats in Washington. He's using his committee to push solutions to combat terrorism, secure the border, stop sanctuary cities, and protect our country against cyber attacks. He is committed to standing up for veterans by bringing accountability to the Veterans Health Administration and promoting programs that help connect veterans with good jobs. And Senator Johnson is focused on growing our economy and creating jobs and economic opportunity for all Americans, which is why he supports pro-growth, tax simplification, and reducing burdensome regulations. Senator Johnson resides in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, with his wife, Jane. They have 3 children and two grandchildren. The Northwest Suburban Republicans invited Senator Johnson here today to congratulate him on his recent reelection, to build a relationship with our like-minded neighbor to the north, and to honor his tremendous efforts in the United States Senate, particularly with respect to regulatory reform. So on behalf of the 500 Northwest Suburban Republicans here tonight, it is my honor to introduce and present our Spirit of Lincoln Award for his outstanding efforts on regulatory reform to United States Senator Ron Johnson.
Well, thank you, Ryan. And boy, being here in the land of Lincoln to get an award like that, I truly appreciate that. I don't know about the rest of you, but as I was listening to your governor, by the way, a man that you need to support, I had a big smile on my face. You know, I've been in this business now for about 6 years, going on to 7. And I've listened to a lot of speeches from politicians. That was not a speech from a politician. But that was a speech from a citizen legislator, someone from the business world. It is refreshing to hear it. It's exactly what government needs. We need more people that understand what the private sector does, that understands what it is they're trying to govern, so they also understand how onerous government can actually be. So again, I cannot be more pleased that you have such a wonderful governor that needs support. And a little later on, I'll get into, I think, what you need to do from a standpoint of keeping your nose to the grindstone and developing the ground game and the structure to do what we did in Wisconsin down here in Illinois. But let me first start talking about why I ran, why the governor ran, your governor ran, why you're all sitting in this room. It's not really about, it is about winning elections, but that's not really why we do these things. The reason we're involved as Republicans, as conservatives, in the political process at a moment in time of this country's history is because we are concerned about the direction of our country. I often said in 2010 I was panicked for my country. I don't want to ruin your night. I've been serving for 6 years. I am more panicked. Now, I want to give you some hope. The governor was talking about how much he hears from citizens on the street, giving him encouragement, keep working hard. My guess is the number one thing that he hears from people on the street, because it's the number one thing I hear by a long shot, is you are in our prayers. We're praying for you. At the moment in time of such divisive politics in this country, at a moment of peril for our country, where so much that we see culturally is so disturbing, the fact that so many people come up to your elected officials and express their prayers has got to give us hope. Now, oftentimes when I'm introduced, like your governor, I worked hard all my life, and I'm often introduced that way. My response always, though, is not because I showed the initiative. I worked hard all my life because my parents made me. I succeeded in life largely because I had the gift. I was blessed with two loving parents of deep faith. Can you imagine if every child in America could make that statement, the condition our country would be in today? It's just the truth. It's what we need to, as we're looking at government policy, take a look at that root cause, the breakdown of the American family, the fact that children can't make that statement, that the foundational building block of America has been so broken and torn asunder. We have to recognize that fact, and it has to be addressed. Now, something else that gives me hope, I'm a business guy. I'm into mission statements, I'm into vision statements, I'm into strategies and strategic planning process. I actually mentioned this to Judge Gorsuch. By the way, being a business guy, you always have to celebrate success. I don't care what mess you find our country in today, the stumbles, the disappointments as we try and govern this mess. But let's never forget what we did in 2016 by electing Donald Trump and making sure that we had conservative Republican Senate. We saved the Supreme Court. We confirmed a judge, somebody who realized it's the role of a judge to apply, not alter the law. And so when the governor's lawsuits go in front of the Supreme Court, there's actually a pretty darn good chance that the Supreme Court will rule based on the law, not based on their feeling, which is incredibly crucial. But getting back to my point about vision statements and what has to give us all hope, what we must concentrate our efforts on, because I mentioned this to Judge Gorsuch when I met with him after his confirmations hearing. I said, as a business guy, I look at our founding documents, and I look at the Declaration of Independence as the letter of intent, the easy thing. That's what I would write. I could always do that. I'm not a lawyer. And he said, oh, so then the Constitution is the contract, exactly. And in that letter of intent, in the Declaration of Independence, is probably the most wonderful vision statement of self-government ever produced by humans. You've all heard it, but let me repeat it. We hold these truths to be self-evident. By the way, I love that. Self-evident. It's just so obvious that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator, a pretty important concept, with certain unalienable rights. Among them are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, when I was younger and I wasn't thinking as deeply as I think nowadays, I realized, life, liberty, those are important concepts. Pursuit of happiness always seemed somewhat frivolous to me. It's not. It's what we all strive for. It's certainly what I told my kids, what I hope for my children and grandchildren so they could just achieve happiness in life. It's difficult to pursue. It's impossible to pursue without life, without liberty. I ask a lot of questions when I give speeches in Wisconsin. One of them I ask when I'm with high schools is I just, show of hands, high school students. Anybody here in this room have your aspiration of living in your basement, being dependent on your parents? I always cross my fingers hoping that nobody raised their hands. So far, nobody has. There's no way you pursue happiness when you're dependent on a parent or a government. No way. And yet so much of our government policy is directed exactly at making more and more people dependent on government so that politicians can keep getting elected by promising them benefits. It's just a fact. It's one of the repulsive parts of our politics today. We need to recognize that fact. Now, another question, and now I'm going to start getting into what it is we need to do to turn things around, to start winning the political arguments. Another question I asked folks in Wisconsin. Now, I've asked this to literally tens of thousands of Wisconsinites. Show of hands. Do it right now. Show of hands. How many people in this room think the federal government is efficient and effective? Okay, good. I was kind of cringing. I didn't think I was going to see any hands. Tens of thousands of people, bipartisan audiences, some quite hostile. I've had a few dozen people raise their hand. The reaction always is exactly what you just heard. Snickers, outright laughter and guffaw. Well, there's an aha moment as we start talking to people that we need to impress upon them. Okay, you're right. The federal government is inefficient. It's ineffective. It's broken. It's dysfunctional. It is taking away your liberty. Let's stop growing it. Stop sending people to Washington, D.C. who are dedicated to growing that government, that broken, dysfunctional place. Right? Doesn't that make sense? Start using that in your political discourse. Another suggestion. As you start supporting your governors, you keep doing all the things you need to do in terms of election mechanics, the grassroots effort. As you start talking to your friends, your family, your neighbors, as your governor was talking about here, don't start the conversation arguing. Now, I come from the business world. I did a lot of negotiation. I never sat down at the negotiating table and started arguing. I always laid out all the areas of agreement. It developed a relationship, a level of trust, so when you finally came to those areas of disagreement, it was just so much easier finding common ground. So again, as Americans, let's start our political conversations on an area of agreement, a goal we all share. We all want a safe, prosperous, secure America. We're all concerned about each other. There is no one political party that has a monopoly on compassion. We all want all of our fellow citizens to succeed, to have the opportunity to build a good life for themselves or family. Now, I've been saying this for 6 years. I've had unbelievably hostile groups come into my Senate office looking pretty snarly. I diffuse a situation immediately by laying out that shared goal and purpose, and the conversation progresses in a far more amiable and far more productive way. In terms of election mechanics, do not give up on this state. What has happened in Wisconsin, the fact we've literally turned a pretty blue state pretty darn red, capped by the fact that we, for the first time since 1984, turned our 10 electoral votes over to Donald Trump, and we saved the Senate seat. It didn't just happen. You know, it's amazing how many people take credit for that election victory. But I know who produced that election victory: the good folks of Wisconsin. The reason you've grown your representative Republicans in your state legislature is because of you folks. It's that grassroots effort developed and built over years and years and years. You know, we got something in Wisconsin called the WOW counties: Waukesha, Ozaukee, and Washington. They didn't just happen. They were built by elected officials and county chairs, relentlessly built year after year after year. And then that just takes off. And that example, that best practice of how those counties are run and operated, never shutting down. They're not doing the election and then going home for a year and then having to reconstitute it, but it's always building the party. That got translated to all 72 counties. And we ended up with that success. So that's the election mechanics. But the way you win elections is you win the hearts and minds of the people that you're trying to convince. And you do that by showing your true heart. We had a Republican retreat right after we started Congress here in Philadelphia, the House and the Senate trying to get our act together, get the game plan set. And our luncheon speaker was Arthur Brooks. He's head of American Enterprise Institute. Used to be a professional French horn player, studied economics, now he's basically a philosopher. His entire luncheon speech was talking about our divisive politics, our divisive country. Basically making the point, you know, how do you deal with people? And let's face it, people on both sides of the political spectrum view the other side in contempt, with contempt. He said, you know, how do you respond to somebody who views you and holds you in contempt? And his suggestion, I thought, was pretty powerful. He said, you respond with a warm heart. I don't really like talking about myself or my election too much, but the minute he said that, I thought back to the campaign we just run and what I think actually did win us that race, in addition to 18, 19-hour days talking to people. But we ran ads just talking about how a group of us helped reconnect an adoptive family with their adopted little daughter in the Congo. We ran an ad about something we call the Joseph Project, where our staff goes in for a week of 4 days of training, 3 hours a day. We teach soft skills, interview skills to hardcore unemployed, formerly incarcerated, former gang members, alcohol, drug abusers, people just down their luck, hardcore unemployed. The 5th day they get job interviews, they're getting jobs, they're being retained at a higher rate than 70%. We showed Wisconsin this is true conservatism. This is what compassion looks like implemented at the local level. Then my final ad, I wrote in 2 minutes. And I'm just going to paraphrase it to you. You know what gives me hope? You do. Your prayers and your kindness, your hard work and your courage. This is a great country full of wonderful people. But we are facing enormous challenges. But here's the good news. We really do share the same goal. We all want that safe, prosperous, secure Wisconsin, Illinois, and America. And we are concerned about each other. It's not a bad place to start. That's how you win the hearts and minds of the people you are asking to represent. That's how we win the political argument. That's how we save this nation. So my primary message to you is do not give up. Demonstrate to your fellow citizens your warm heart, your true compassion. Yes, be involved in party politics, but be involved in your churches. Be involved in your boys and girls clubs, your YMCAs, the other civic organizations, the Rotaries, the chambers. Be engaged in your community. And then as you're talking to your fellow citizens, your friends, your families, and neighbors, it just might kind of get out that a person with such a warm heart, demonstrating such compassion, such concern for his fellow citizens is a Republican? Who would have ever thought it? We do face enormous challenges. We face enormous threats. But again, this is one great country with one wonderful vision statement. We stick to that, we cling to that. We use that as our guiding principle. There is nothing this nation cannot achieve. So again, God bless all of you. Support your governor. God bless Illinois, Wisconsin, and America. Thank you very much.
I want to introduce the township committeemen that represent all of the Northwest Suburban Republican townships who are participating in this annual event and who helped put this dinner together along with their precinct captains. If everybody could sit down, then when the township committeemen stand up, you'll know who they are. See how that works? So we need people to sit down first. If I could get people's attention, I want to recognize the township committeemen responsible for this evening, starting with Dan Fitzgerald from Barrington Township, the Barrington Township committeeman. Art Newandowski, the Elk Grove Township committeeman. Mike Balmer, the Hanover Township committeeman. Shar Foss Eggeman, the Maine Township committeeman. Pete Amarantos, the Northfield Township committeeman. Where's Pete? Aaron Del Mar, the Palatine Township committeeman. Ryan Higgins, the Schaumburg Township committeeman, who you heard from earlier. And of course, the Venerable Ruth O'Connell, the Wheeling Township committeeman. I also want to introduce the dinner committee tonight. I'm going to read the names, and if you could just wait for me to read the names and give everybody a round of applause. Bob Vintage, who's the chairman from the dinner committee tonight from Schaumburg Township. I hope I Shar Kegaris, I'm sorry, from Schaumburg Township. Trudy Berry from Barrington Township. Patty Damish from Northfield Township. Katie Dolan Balmer from Hanover Township, the program book coordinator. Linda Post from Barrington Township. Dale Newadarski from Elk Grove Township. Our invocation offering tonight from Mark Angus from Maine Township. Sharon Lingles Johnson from Palatine Township. And Ken Jokum from Wheeling Township. Thank them all very much. And also, we should recognize the highest ranking elected Republican in Cook County. He is Commissioner Dan Patlack, who's with us tonight. And we should recognize state legislators. I may not have seen all of them. I see Tom Morrison from Palatine. Any other state legislators that are here tonight? Tom Rooney, of course. Tom Rooney, State Senator Tom Rooney is here from Rolling Meadows as well. Anybody else I missed? No? Okay. All right, good. Before I introduce Tim Schneider, I just wanted to pick up on something that I think both Governor Rauner and Senator Johnson both sort of spoke to tonight. When they talked about this race in 18 in Illinois for governor and on down the ballot, not being about Republican Democrats so much. It's really about the inside guys versus the outside guys. And there's a small group of inside guys that wield all the power and have for a long time. And there's a handful of people that benefit from the inside guys and have for a long time. But there's a whole host of Illinois families, like the overwhelming majority, that are on the outside, just financing all of this. And I think if you frame it when you talk to people, regardless of their partisan stripe, to pick up on what Senator Johnson said, I mean, he did more of the heart thing, I'm more of the head thing. If you frame it that way, then I think you get to the same place Ron Johnson wants you to get to, which is agreement, because most people aren't on the inside making a killing off everybody else's productivity. Most people are getting hammered by a state government they finance. And I think the real challenge for us, as much as we like to focus on Mike Madigan and decrying the Chicago crime families, and I know it's fun, and I know it's cathartic, but I think in this point now we're selling past the close. Those 9 seats that the governor talked about, control of the Illinois House, the re-election of Governor Rauner, and I've said this I think every year since I've emceed this event, it runs through northwest suburban Cook County. And since we still don't have a majority, I continue to be right. It runs through northwest suburban Cook County and the collar counties as well, where we are not piling up the numbers that we need to pile up to offset some of the controlled vote in Chicago. This is the battleground. And so I think rather than decrying Mike Madigan and John Cullerton and comforting ourselves with lambasting those people who've destroyed the state's economy, I think we need to take kind of the John Wooden approach to politics. John Wooden, of course, the greatest basketball coach in the history of the game, 10 championships in 12 years at UCLA, and he was famous for never scouting his opponents because Wooden said, if we do what we're supposed to do, it doesn't matter what they do. And that's where we're at. If we do what we're supposed to do, it doesn't matter what the Democrats do because everybody recognizes they're in charge and everybody recognizes what their record is. What they don't necessarily fully comprehend is what our vision is, how we're framing this election, what it's a referendum on. And in my estimation, from my perspective, if I was going to frame this election in one sentence, I would say this election is about your home. Do you keep it or do they take it? And I mean that literally. The governor spoke about property taxes. Do you keep your home or do they take it? Because that's where we're at in Illinois, where in Arlington Heights, you pay 3 times the national average in terms of property taxes as a percentage of home value. Where in Wheeling, you pay 3.5 times the national average as it pertains to property taxation as a percentage of home value. It is the government taking your home, destroying your home equity, and your home is not just an investment, and it's not just a physical space, it's what you've set your life to. It's the roots that you installed in this place. And so if we can't stoke the revolt over a government taking of your home, not just your house, but your home, then I'm not sure what we can stoke the revolt over. But I know this, and somebody may have a better answer than I do. I doubt it, but it's possible. We have got to stoke the revolt in this state. We have got to engage people, not trot out the same tired tropes. Low taxes, small government, less spending. Right. None of that has happened. Engaging people in an 18-month conversation that presents them with the information and brings them along to the inevitable conclusion. That's what's required. It is a long-form, arduous task, But it's an enjoyable one because when you present people with the information, as we've done through my newspapers on property taxation and pensions and a range of other issues, light bulbs go on. They don't know. People don't know. They have a sense of it. They understand the bills they're paying, but they really don't know the trajectory they're on. Most people do not. And it's a trajectory where everything they invested in and all the sacrifices they made will be for naught if we don't change course for them. Not this abstraction called Illinois. I mean for you specifically in Elk Grove Village and Arlington Heights and Rolling Meadows and Palatine and Barrington, everywhere. No one gets off. No one is immune. No one is salvaged or spared. That's where this is at. And that I think it's a constructive way to direct people's angst and anxiety and anger to something that can turn this state around and provide real time manifest benefit to them and to their families to improve their lives and give them more options than they currently have. That's what we can do, but we have got to stoke the revolt. And I know that on the property tax issue, we have general agreement, so we need to come to some sort of widespread consensus on how to communicate this, and then share the data and share the story and share the solution. And somebody who's been doing that in his role, not just as Illinois State Republican Party chairman, but also as a Cook County commissioner, is Tim Schneider, who introduced a resolution on this very topic at the Cook County board level for Tony Preckwinkle to laugh at, of course. But that's okay, because those who are scoffing at the real hurt they're imposing, particularly on the poor, are not going to have the last laugh. And that's the thing that Schneider's resolution was so powerful in conveying. It wasn't focused on the people that are really doing well, though everybody's getting hurt. But what this unfair, confiscatory, house-robbing, home-depriving property tax system that we have in Illinois does is mostly negatively impact the poor. You want to know where there's the highest property tax rate as a percentage of home value in Cook County? The highest. Who's what? Harvey's close. You're warm. Fort Heights. Fort Heights, one of the poorest communities in the country, 100% African American. The effective property tax rate as a percentage of home value in Fort Heights is 10.5%. You're stealing people's chance to live the independent life that Ron Johnson talked about. That's what our government is doing at every level. So this is such an opportunity for us, isn't it? You want to talk about compassion. Compassion isn't, oh, just look at me, I volunteered for this activity. Compassion is, I'm returning your sovereignty to you. Oh, and by the way, your property. More of an update on the State Republican Party and all the good work it's doing. Please help me welcome again Illinois State Republican Party Chairman Tim Schneider.
Good evening. I'm going to be actually quite brief because I'm used to following Dan Proft, where he steals half my remarks and that leaves only half of them rest left to say. Dan, first of all, let's give Dan a hand for all he's done for us tonight. And really, all he does, you know, when I get up and I'm in my car or anywhere I am on the radio is on between 5 and 9 in the morning, I'm listening to WIND 560, listening to your show. It's really, really interesting, informational, and the espousal of conservative and Republican values is what's so important to what you do, and thank you for all you do. Before I begin saying anything, I just want to thank you and tell you how proud I am to serve as the Illinois Republican Party chairman and to serve the great, in my opinion, one of the greatest governors, if not the greatest governor of the state of Illinois, a great Republican legislature that we have, one of the finest in the nation, which we're going to bring into a majority in the House in 2018, and also to serve each and every one of you every day. I travel north, south, east, west, Rock Island, Murfreesboro, Decatur, Marion, Cairo, Libertyville, Mount Prospect, north, south, east, west, all over the state, just about 3-4 days a week. And it's really, really humbling to hear people throughout the state, and especially downstate Illinois, like in Marion or Murfreesboro, or some of these places where they think a state Republican chairman is likely to be seen as a unicorn or a Sasquatch. You know, they don't see them down there. And I go around and I tell people that, you know, Illinois is not just Cook County and Chicago, and they really appreciate seeing a state chairman. So I'm delighted to be here and see it does my heart good to see so many great Republicans in this room tonight. And I thank each and every one of you for being here. I want to tell you, in 2014, when I came in as a state party chairman, the Republican Party in Illinois was in debt. Big, big debt. Many 6 figures in debt. And so I met with Reince Priebus shortly after I became a state party chairman, and I asked Reince, what's the most important thing you have to do as a state party chairman? And he says, well, Tim, you've got to raise money, you've got to raise money, and you've got to raise money. So I didn't have the heart to tell him where we were in the state of Illinois, but I got my marching orders from Reince. And Reince had his own problems when he came in as the RNC chairman. I don't know if you know about the RNC when he came in. They were $5 million in debt at the RNC. And he was putting RNC purchases on his own personal credit card because the RNC credit card was no good anymore. So he knew what it was like, and he built the RNC into the largest and strongest Republican National Committee the nation has ever seen, actually tripling the size and the resources of the DNC. So today, the Republican National Committee and the ILGOP, the Illinois Republican Party, are extremely, extremely strong. Now, I'd like to stand here and take the credit for all that, but I really have very little to do with it. It's really Governor Rauner, who has done everything to help build the Republican Party. He has lent his name and his time and his talent and his conviction to more Republican events throughout the state, including the governor's dinner and dinners we have throughout the entire state. This man, when he talks about being a workhorse, and I've told this story many times when I was on the campaign with him in 2014, he calls me at 10 o'clock one night and he says, you want to go on a bus tour with me? And I said, yeah, I'd love to go on a bus tour. I said, when do we leave? He said, well, 3 o'clock tomorrow morning, we're going to get on a bus and we're going to go down to Mount Vernon, and we're going to do a Waffle House in Mount Vernon. And we did, 25 people at a Waffle House in Mount Vernon. Then we went to Nashville, Oakville, DuQuoin, Percy, Sparta, Chester, Waterloo, and Bloomington, all on our first day. And we did this for 3 days in a row, 27 cities, 15 speeches a day. He went from morning to night and never had lunch, never had dinner. He would have his crazy granola with milk in the morning, and he'd be gone for the rest of the day. That's the kind of person we have for our governor, and that's the kind of person who's also lended his name and his time and talent to events like this tonight and events for the Republican Party and help us get out of debt to the point that we have over $500,000 in our coffers right now today, from a point that we were many hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. So thank you. Also, the Illinois Republican Party has the best data of any state in our nation. Between the RNC data merged with the Rauner data from 2014, we have the best data. And I don't want to go into too much detail because there might be some press here, but we have the best data of any state in our entire nation. And frankly, we have the greatest ground game that this state has ever seen. Just real quickly, in 2010, when Bill Brady was running for governor, we knocked on 200,000 doors. In 2014, for Governor Rauner, we knocked on 1.5 million doors. And in 2016, just in the 22 targeted races, just in the 22 House races that we were in and a few Senate races, we knocked on 2.2 million doors. That's what the Illinois Republican Party is doing with your help. So when you have the best data and you have the resources and you have the greatest ground game, what can you do with that? Well, here's what you can do with that. You can go to the 20th House District, Mike McAuliffe's district, and many of you know Mike McAuliffe. Mike Madigan called that race, Mike McAuliffe and Mary Marwig, ground zero for the Democratic Party in 2016. They spent over $1 million. They sent hundreds and hundreds of their minions and their top precinct captains for weeks and weeks and weeks. They had hundreds of people in that district for weeks before the election. And the Illinois Republican Party helped Mike McAuliffe win that race by double digits. Never thought it could be done. And when you have great candidates, great volunteers, great data, and the necessary resources, you can net, as the governor said, 4 House seats and 2 Senate seats in a year where your presidential nominee unfortunately lost by 17 points with a terrifically awful gerrymandering of our districts, and then a headwind in 2016 where Democrats come out in unprecedented greater numbers than Republicans. And yet we won 4 House and 2 Senate seats. And then also, you can help Roger Clare, the mayor of Bolingbrook. Many of you may not know Roger, but he had a race of his life. He stuck his neck out last September for Donald Trump. And the Democrats said, we're going to make him pay the price for that. So the Illinois Republican Party went down to Bolingbrook, Illinois, and helped Roger Clare in his election. Now the Democrats spent millions on a mayoral race, They also had John Leguizamo, the comedian down there. They had Samuel L. Jackson come in for a mayor's race. And they spent all this money, had all these people come in, and lo and behold, Roger Clare won by 105 votes last week. That's what the Illinois Republican Party can do, and that's what we can all do if we work together. We must work together. In 2018, we will together re-elect Bruce Rauner, the governor of Illinois. We will hold Mike Madigan's Democrats accountable, and we will win the 8 Illinois House seats necessary to send Mike Madigan packing as Speaker of the House. Will you please join me in doing that, and we can turn our state around. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all.
All right, now it's time for the fun stuff, the raffle drawing. To do that, Bob Vintage, the dinner chairman, and I'm calling it, and Ruth O'Connell. Ruth O'Connell, we need you front and center to do some raffle ticket drawings. Where is Ruth O'Connell? Oh, there she is. Okay.
Hi, Ruth. You're gonna pull the things out, okay? Give it a couple of twirls and okay, we'll just pull one out first. Hold on. We've got something special here. We're not going to do the cash drawing first. We've got a couple of extra gifts, namely 2 bottles of Trump wine that we're going to raffle off. And then we're going to put the winner's tickets back in so they'll be available for a cash prize too. So the first one will be a Trump bottle of red Meritage.
Goes great with a Trump steak.
Okay, Ruth, you want to do the honors? Yes, you have to be present to win the bottle of wine. Oh, this person is present. George Dunham. Oh. Where is he?
He's over here.
Oh, he's coming up. You want to take the second one while George is coming up, Ruth? Yep. Kim Jones. Looks like it's Main Township. George, you bet. Good job, man. Hey, thanks, Jim. Yeah, they're going back in. Is Kim Jones here?
Yeah.
Oh, there she is. Okay, we're going to put those two winners back in so they're still eligible for the cash prize. Let's do this. Total of three, but let's do the first. We're going to do the first cash prize. It's the big one for $2,000. Looks like it's Hanover. Can you read this? Oh, that's the seller. HTRO? Is it Joe? No.
I guess the organization bought tickets for themselves.
But it's Hanover. Oh, okay. See? Oh, there you go. It's yours. Congratulations, Mike. It was a good investment for you. Okay, that was a $2,000 cash prize. The next prize is $500. This one is Main Township, and it looks like Shar Fisher.
Two years in a row.
Okay. And the last one is, this one's $250, isn't it, Joe? Wheeling Township. Somebody you know. One of your fellow elected officials, the assessor, Jerry Sadler.
Oh, there you go.
Thank you, everybody, for participating in this and helping your organization raise
All right,
funds.
and to close the show tonight, we're going to welcome back Annie Penner to end this evening appropriately with her rendition of God Bless America. Please give Annie Penner your attention.
God bless America. Let
Thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight. Have a great evening.